Okay, so admittedly, it's not that bad. It has strengths and weaknesses like any other crawler does. Its major strength is on straight-on crawling, so if you're just going straight up a rock surface, it does very, very well, as you see in the video here. Where it struggles is in the side hilling. It does like to tip over quite a lot. That might be related to some of the suspension travel issues that we've had. And that might actually be related to the quality of the spring that's on there. I still believe it's a little bit stiff. Could also be related to the tires as well. Now the tires have surprised me above everything else in this model. So that is something that I would say for 20 bucks, if you're working on a budget, that's absolutely worth it. Another issue that I saw a lot of was on the decline. So if you're going down the surface, the vehicle likes to roll over quite a lot, and I believe that that is completely on the suspension here. There's not a lot of suspension travel, so the tires don't like to sit on the ground. Also, the suspension is quite stiff, so that is all going back to that spring choice that we have on that shock. Now here you can see my goal was to go straight up that surface, and you see the vehicle kind of turned a little sideways and crawled up in an area that I was not anticipating going. That is because the surface that's here is a granite surface. It is a little bit on the mossy side, so the tire did struggle to find traction. I did notice the longer I was at it, the more stabilized the tire became and the less traction that I got out of that tire. Even still, I do recommend it if you are on a budget. During this type of crawling is where a rock buggy really shines. It's that kind of lightweight crawl stuff that it does really well on. Now you do need to make sure that you're aligning things up pretty well. The forward bite on the tire as well as the way the vehicle is set up, it really does best when you are straight on crawling. So if you line things up, I think you'll be pretty impressed with the way that it performs. I had zero complaints about the electronics that I chose in this model. The motor is very solid and very smooth. The ESC is of course a Hobbywing, and that's well known for being high quality. And what really surprised me was the controller. So the Dumbo RC controller I had no faith in, and it gave me no issues at all. It seems to be holding up pretty well. Now its signal, I've not had a chance to range check it to see if it's going to be a viable option for something like a speed car. But in the case of a rock crawler, I can give that a thumbs up. Now this is a little indoor course. The indoor course itself is primarily made of wood and concrete. Now that's where this tire really shined. This is where it impressed me the most. It seemed to be just as good as some of the other name brand tires, and again, that's one of the major reasons why I recommend it. Now unfortunately, the ride height and the suspension always seem to be a problem. So if I were going to do this again, I would not choose this chassis. As I mentioned in the build, there was way too many modifications and things still don't seem to work properly. I would also look for a shock that had a softer spring in it. I think that would really ramp up the performance of this crawler. Now, as you're watching some of the performance of the crawler, I'd like to put a little bit of context in. I did go up Stone Mountain Park. I live in Georgia, and Stone Mountain Park is a very popular location for RC rock crawlers. There's a walking path that goes from the bottom to the top with a lot of obstacles. The day I went with this crawler, it was pretty crowded, so I wasn't able to get as much footage as I wanted to, but I did get some. And in transparency, I brought two crawlers with me that day. So I brought the Amazon budget build. I also brought my highly upgraded four-wheel steer Capra. And before I go any further with that statement, I will say that that is not a fair comparison. I'm very aware of that. But I did find myself dreading driving the Amazon budget build. The four-wheel steer Capra is just so much nicer to drive, and I really wasn't enjoying the Amazon budget build very much. That's largely because I kept thinking in the back of my mind, I spent a little shy of 500 bucks building the Amazon budget build, and it was a lot of work. There was a lot of things that you guys didn't see in the videos. There was a lot of editing down for time's sake. The links were particularly difficult to get mounted. They didn't want to cooperate in a way that would give me any amount of flex without binding. I had to grind a lot on that chassis. There was probably 2 hours plus in grinding on the chassis trying to get clearances so that things would move correctly. And even with all of that work, it still isn't right. There's still some binding issues and some clearance issues. So for the amount of work that I had to put into the Amazon budget build, I could have had a much nicer crawler. I could have had something that I could have taken right out of a box and gone right up the mountain and had a better time with, and had less frustrations in the crawling. The video, the opening in the video had this thing flipping over, and that was a common thread throughout most of my time with it on Stone Mountain. So for my final thoughts here, I would say maybe don't invest in a crawler in this way. If you want something as a shelf queen, we're talking totally different animal here, because if you wanted to build it and you wanted to say, hey look, I built this, I made it work, it was difficult and I succeeded, there's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of lessons to be learned by building a crawler like this. But for the amount of money that you're going to spend here, I would say you're still way better to buy a ready-made crawler, something that's just going to give you a lot more capabilities right out of the package.
Like watching a dog play with the pillows, or play in a pile of pillows.
Well guys, as I put a wrap on this video, and this video series for that matter, I wanted to just give you a little bit of an update. I'm sure by now you've noticed that my upload schedule has changed on the channel. Work has got me crazy busy, and I've not been able to get down into my RC lab, as one of my viewers called it. I love that, by the way. In order to do the filming. So it's something I hope things will slow down a little bit and give me a little more time to get down here and film and get back to my normal upload schedule. Also, I cannot thank you guys enough for keeping up with these videos and supporting this channel as much as you are. My monetization level has finally reached the point where the channel is sustaining the expenses of which to keep it running. And I cannot thank you guys enough for that. That makes things so much easier for me to continue with this, knowing that I'm at a break-even level, that I can continue to bring content and continue to help you. So if you're a new-time viewer, first-time viewer, please do consider giving me a thumbs up and a subscription, as well as don't forget to hit that bell. That way you can see the new content as it goes up. If you're a long-time viewer, thank you very much, and I hope to see everyone in the next one.